Hi everybody, welcome to the August edition of Coffee with the Chief. Thank you for joining us. Today we have a not only timely but an exciting guest for us, for you, and that will be Minisink Valley School Superintendent Brian Monahan's making his second visit. As we get ready to start school, we thought it would be great to have him join us, and he agreed. So Brian, everyone knows who you are, but for someone that's new to the community or our podcast, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Sure, Chief, thanks again for having me here. And as you said, very timely with the start of school coming up in about 3-4 weeks. Excited to be here and have a chance to chat a little bit with you. But for those who don't know me, my name is Brian Monahan. I'm Superintendent of Schools here at Minisink Valley. I've been in the position now, Chief, you're not going to believe this, but I've been in the position now 6 years, moving on my 7th year.
Fast.
Very fast, but just a little background. I've been with the district since 1996. I started out here as a teacher. Love the district, love the area. When my wife and I got married, we looked around and purchased a house right away. So I've been living in the community since '99. I've been a high school social studies teacher, middle school assistant principal, summer school principal. I became director of personnel after the middle school assistant principal position. And I took a small hiatus down in Monroe Woodbury for 5 years as an assistant superintendent for human resources. But I had the incredible ability to come back and be part of Minisink Valley in the role of superintendency. I have 3 children that go to school here. I am no longer an elementary parent. My youngest,
flies.
I know it does. My youngest is now going to be a middle schooler. So my last year was here in Otisville with William. My oldest Andrew's a senior. My middle son is a sophomore now. So moving along, and just some interesting things I did. I was also one of the people who helped start the swimming and diving program here at Minisink Valley, which has been running incredibly strong. We're very fortunate to have the program here. So
just thinking off the top of my head now, do you think that it's, because we were talking off camera, with your son having actually a son in each of the schools at one point, like last year, was that good or bad for you? Now you think it's easier? I know the parents love seeing you, so do you think it's easier for the school? It's not, or do you still get around? Doesn't matter.
I get around no matter what, because I try to attend as many activities. It's always fun.
And you're everywhere. I mean, you're like the man that's everywhere. I see you all over. So you do an amazing job.
Thank you. I liked having the kids in each of the different buildings. It was nice because I also volunteered at a lot of different things. But again, as all the teachers and the staff know, call me up. You need me for something, I'm coming over to get it done for you. So
we were at the back in, I guess, the end of May. Maybe it was the beginning of June, and the girls lacrosse team won the sectional championship. Yes. And you were in a meeting. You're coming late, and you saw me, and you ran past, and the officials were like, "Who's that guy?" I'm like, "That's the superintendent." And they're like, "Well, he's going to trip if he doesn't slow down." And you're in your suit, literally running to get over to catch the end of it, I
just wanted to be there, catch the end of the game, and be able to congratulate the girls. They had an incredible season. It was a different season, as you know, for all of our teams. But any of our teams I tried to get to and see and be part of it with them. And, I love these kids, and that's really kind of the motivation for this job. With all the tough things we have to deal with, what do we really focus on? It's the kids. For me, that's the fun part. A couple of years ago, they had their band trip to Orlando. And again, a lot of the parents were happy because we were doing a beach day. Like, oh, Mr. Monahan's a lifeguard. Okay. So, Mr. Haber and I are out in the, ocean there hanging out, telling kids, you don't go past us. But, they felt a little more comfortable with the beach day because, okay, Mr. Monahan's the lifeguard, so he can be there and be part of it and keep an eye on the kids.
That's great.
So.
That's too funny. So last year, 2021 school year was certainly unprecedented, probably in all of our lifetimes, and things were constantly changing, and we had to learn to roll with the punches. So how are you doing? Like, how did you get through it mentally and physically? Like,
you know what? I would tell you, it was an incredibly challenging year for everybody. But I think it's part of my responsibility to stay as positive as I can with everything we're doing. I am very blessed with an incredible faculty, staff, and administration team, an unbelievably supportive Board of Education. And at the end of the day, it's the kids that really motivate you to keep things going. And again, being involved like I am with all the different activities we do here, I know many of the kids, and they were pleased to see me, and they helped motivate me. Personally, it's really my wife and my children that really keep me motivated in doing the job that I'm doing. I know that I'm working hard on their behalf. Again, I have a personal stake in everything because my kids go to school here. My wife and I live here. So it's very personal to me. So I throw myself into the job and throw myself into the community to do what I can because it's helping my kids, it's helping my wife. Again, you and I have been I can't even count how many activities you and I have been together.
Yeah, a ton. Right.
So.
Well, this is the thing, and I think for someone that doesn't have a student at the main campus, they wouldn't know this, but you're out there like almost, if not every morning, almost every morning, directing traffic, moving buses, crossing people across the street. I mean, and this is at what, quarter to,
usually around 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, I'm out there. Again,
and probably not many superintendents doing that.
I don't know many that have, but again, when we say it's an all hands on deck situation, we have a lot of parents dropping kids off because of not wanting to utilize transportation at that point in time, or having concerns, or just felt it was easier for them to do that. With that many, parents coming into the parking lot, pulling in, pulling out, we wanted to have some additional people up there, but to try to make sure we have everyone checked into the building the right way, we don't have the staff to allow that. So I jumped in along with the director of transportation, and we kind of ran the upper parking lot portion to make sure things ran smoothly. And it's what we have to do. It's always that small little job description and other duties to be named later. And listen, I take it personally too that you have to do those things.
I would go down to the middle school, obviously, and drop my son off, and you had the principal, the assistant principal, and some days the principal directing traffic as well. And I thought about it one day as I was leaving, and I said to myself, I wonder if when they were going for their administrator certificates, they ever thought that there'd be a day they would direct traffic like a police officer. Like literally, they'd be out there. Same with you, like your style. And that's just, I guess, goes to the unprecedented nature of the school year. Like probably no one ever thought that would ever be the case. You jump in when you have to, but that was on a regular basis.
We felt it was important that we had some people up there to make sure it kind of ran smoothly. And on the days, and what really happened is once people saw what we needed them to do, on the days where we had to, the director of transportation had to go and drive a bus that day or whatever, parents knew exactly what they needed to do. They knew what we wanted done, and it worked. So it goes back to training. And if you train people the right way to do the things they need to do, and that includes our parents and kids, and the kids were great with it. So they knew, all right, I got to pull in this way. This is where I got to park. Yep. Parents were wonderful with it. It made a difference. And even down at the other end where the buses make that right turn down to the high school, when cars were coming down, we had security there, and sometimes whether the security was quarantined or they had to be down at the building for something, one of the nice things is that the cars actually stopped and let the buses go, and then there was a break. Okay, now I'll go. That wasn't the case a year or two ago. Right. So,
what do you think was the most challenging part of the year?
I would say probably the most challenging part was dealing with all the quarantining and having to roll with that the best way we could. The rules that we were given to operate under, we had to operate under those. And again, I don't see the quarantining rules changing very much from the county or the state going forward, but we had to roll with that piece of it. And
even though sometimes they didn't make sense, because we dealt with it a little bit with some of our employees as well.
I argued my arguments to the State Department of Health, the County Department of Health, and the rules are the rules. And I think as you've known me for the many years, listen, I follow the rules, and I think that's the most important thing we need to do. And what we have to continue to do is promote the safety for the kids. That's the most important thing we're going to do in the job that we do. But I would say the quarantining was probably the thing we had to roll with the most, because you didn't know day to day. There were times, I was 1 o'clock in the morning on the phone with Mr. Hauk, who's down at the high school building, because he had to go through and check the names off of who was quarantined. Do we have enough teachers to actually run the building that day, or do we have to go remote? I know we had a couple times where at 5 in the morning you get a phone call, the all call coming out that the high school is going to be remote for the next 2 days because we just didn't have enough faculty and staff to run the building.
Sure.
We had very few substitutes. So those things, the substitutes we had were already into permanent positions. Yeah. So that was some of the difficulty. But I will tell you, again, going back to having an incredibly strong administrative team, a great, incredibly strong faculty and staff, and some wonderfully resilient kids and resilient parents. Sure. That got us through it.
And I think people don't sometimes think of it, they think, okay, you're the superintendent, you're in charge, you can just do whatever you want. Or, because I get that, I'm the police chief, you can do whatever you want. And I've had some of those challenging phone calls as well with the commissioner of health's office or the, and you tell people, well, they just told us no. And they, well, just ignore them. And it's well, like really, like when we're talking about a medical thing, like you're stuck. Like you can, like you said, you make your case, you make your pitch, but at the end of the day, none of us are really in charge, right? I think we've learned that.
If the Department of Health tells you, they oversee us, whether it's the pool, whether it's the building, coming in, examining food, everything. They control it. And I can make my arguments all I want. If I'm told this is what it is, then I have to follow it.
You got to do the best you can with it.
And that's what we're going to continue to do. And again, with this another year coming up that's looking to be challenging, that's the same thing. We're going to do everything we can to keep the kids in school 5 days a week.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. I put that out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We're coming back. We're doing 5 days a week. We're here. There's no remote option. There's no online option. We're moving forward 5 days a week. Well, I'm going to do what we need to do. The team is going to do what we need to do to make sure the kids are in 5 days a week. And that's where the quarantining comes in, where you just got to make sure you're following the rules so that you're not putting yourself in jeopardy.
Sure.
So,
and it's refreshing. There was a story on the news this morning. In the state of Florida, Miami-Dade, I think, school district.
Yeah. They
said that they're going to defy the governor. They're going to make a mask mandate. If you agree or disagree, it's not the point of the story. But what the governor said is, well, he's not going to get paid anymore because he's defying us. And he said, I don't care if you're not going to pay me. I'm going to do what's best for the kids based on what I get from all these. And it was kind of refreshing to say, he's like really saying, I don't care about the money. I'm doing what I think is the best for the kids' safety, their education, the whole 9 yards. So, and it's challenging.
It is challenging. And again, one of the things is, in the position that I hold, you know what, at the end of the day, people are going to be happy with decisions I make. People are going to be unhappy with decisions I make. You don't get into administration. You don't get into the police department, or being the chief of police where, everyone's going to like the decisions you have to make. We have to make decisions based on what's best, and that's what we're going to do. And
the other thing people don't realize, we get sued too when we don't do things that we're supposed to, right? And everyone's, who cares? You get sued. Well, it is a little stressful.
You have the taxpayers who tell you, well, make sure you're being very, very vigilant with our taxes. Okay, well, part of that is making sure you minimize the lawsuits or minimize that you're going to lose in a lawsuit. So,
yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned that the plan as of today, which is the 10th, is 5 days a week, in person, no remote.
Yeah.
What about masks?
Well, again, I put an announcement out the other day on the website, letting everybody know. I think it's a little premature to make that decision in its final phase. Things are moving along. We're doing what we said we're going to be doing. We're talking with the Orange County Department of Health. We had conversations with them yesterday. We had conversations with County Exec Newhouse, and we're going to continue working on that. It is what it is. We're going to, whatever the decision is, we'll make it. And we're going to use our medical director. And I have to tell you, we're very fortunate. Dr. Little has been incredible with us as our medical director. But that's really who you're going to be listening to. You need to be listening to the medical directors. Somebody had shared with me, Arnold Schwarzenegger put something out. Do you listen to Facebook if you have cancer? No, you go to a doctor.
Of course.
As he said, you want to talk about, building up your biceps? I'm your guy to talk to.
Right.
You want to talk about how to handle cancer, how to handle a medical issue? No, I'm not your guy. You want to talk to the medical people. And that's the advantage. Districts are required to have a medical director. That's who we have as Dr. Little. That's the person we're going to work with and listen to and take her advice on how to move forward.
And that's a good point. Now, I'm a pro-vaccination person. I was vaccinated, and I was talking to somebody that was concerned about it, and they said, you want me to get vaccinated? I said, and they had some concerns. And I said, I don't want you to get vaccinated. All I want you to do is go and speak to your doctor about it. If you have an issue that makes you not suitable to get the vaccine, well, then that's something. Yeah. But just because you read it on Facebook or you watch it on, pick the TV network, whatever one it might be, that's not, all I'm saying is talk to your doctor. And who knows what your doctor's going to say. I think that's a good point. Like, we got to listen to the medical experts.
I want to tell you, I put that out in my announcement. I shared that with a statement at our board meeting last week. I'm not here to put in a vaccine mandate. I'm not doing that. What I am going to tell you to do, it is a personal choice. Go seek out your medical director, your doctor, get the advice, and make your decision. That's the best thing you can do.
I agree with you.
I did that when getting vaccinated. Again, I did a lot of research on it myself, but the people I talked to my doctor.
Yeah.
He said, Brian, I think you're a good candidate for the vaccine. Great, wonderful. And the moment it became available for teachers and administrators to go get vaccinated, I had an appointment. 3 days later, I was vaccinated.
Yep. No, and same with me. And I think, again, it's a personal. Everyone has to make. I think it's overall, it's important to get vaccinated. I think. But yeah, I'm with you, and that's the question I get. Are they going to mandate it? Are they going to mandate vaccines to go to work? I don't think we're going to mandate it. I don't know what the governor is going to do, or what the state legislature is going to do, or whoever. But so it's
and I think
it's
that's
tough.
one of the problems we have right now is there's a little bit of a void up at Albany right now.
Sure.
Until the governor gets through with whatever's going to happen going forward. So that's created some uncertainty, I think, for all of us in this whole in this whole
because
situation.
we've gone basically almost a week now without anything.
Correct.
Like just silence, which is a problem. So
which is not what you want to have.
No, especially and I think probably you more than me, but when he said, or he didn't say it, when his people said, we're not getting involved in the school reopening plans or anything, everyone's like, wait a minute, this is the guy that last year, controlled everything. This year, he's not even doing anything. So
that's why, again, their recommendation from Dr. Zucker was we need to follow the CDC guidelines. We need to follow and talk with our county departments of health and work with them and work with your medical director. So that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I think everybody would expect us to do. Yeah. I don't make decisions based on Facebook, what's out there on Facebook or anything, or social media. I make decisions based on the experts telling us where we need to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. I always find too is like that there's no consensus, from across states and everything. So you just got to trust the people that you have in place, and that's important. So the other thing that a lot of people are interested in is extracurricular activities. As today, again, I know it's early, but football and soccer and all moving forward. So we're
moving forward. So yeah, we were able to have a different season for each of our 3 seasons. And I think those who attended the board meeting when they were talking about the decision again, and using a sports metaphor, the governor punted it down to the county punted it down to the school districts for contact sports. I think anybody who tuned into that meeting heard me. I trust my parents, I trust my kids, I trust my coaches. I talked to the medical director. She said, you can run it safely as long as you follow the protocols. I knew those individuals would follow the protocols, and we ran our contact sports, and that included soccer, wrestling. We did those things, and we had a season for every one of our kids. Was it the ideal season? Probably not for the kids, but I have to tell you, so many of the kids I spoke to said they were so thrilled to actually be able to participate in the sports. Yeah. Any of our clubs that we can run, we're going to run. Okay. I want to give the kids as much of a normal year as we possibly can in what we're living in. And the definition of normal may be a little bit different moving forward. I don't know. But we're going to try to run every single thing we can run. I want the kids to have a really good experience each year.
Things change quickly. The facts move. Everything's moving quick. And what do you have in place to make sure that you can adapt quickly? Like what are you guys doing that, if some new information comes out today, that tomorrow you can be ready to roll with the new?
I will tell you, I think last year was a good education for all of us on how to be flexible, how to roll with things, and how to get things done at a moment's notice. As I said earlier, I'm on the phone with Mr. Houck at 1 o'clock in the morning because he's down at his office and I'm at the house. And sometimes I actually had to drive down to the building to give him a hand to get stuff done at 1 o'clock in the morning. But you know what? By 5 o'clock, we had to make a decision. That's what we do. We're fortunate.
Is that like the golden time? 5 a.m. is pretty much when you have to?
I try to, because a couple different things. Our drivers start to report by 5:30.
For the buses.
If I want to make a decision, I typically try to get it out by 5 for a couple reasons. I think it gives our families a little chance to plan before parents are figuring out heading to work. I don't have to put my drivers out there and have them on the roads, especially in a weather situation. If we know the weather's going to be that bad, you try to make that decision by 5 o'clock.
Gotcha.
I get the occasional angry phone call because it was at 4:50 I made the call. So.
Gotcha. So now, I guess another question I have is we did remote for all days last year for a period, then we went to a hybrid, all these different things. So you had to put in a lot of infrastructure to be able to do that.
Yes.
The plan today, 5 days a week, everyone's in person.
Yeah.
You have that infrastructure still there. So if something catastrophic happened, you can switch back in a moment.
If we have to pivot, we pivot.
You can do that.
We can pivot.
So the money's been spent, the infrastructure's there, that didn't go away just because the summer came.
Our Chromebooks are there. We can get out what we need to get out, and we can work with our teachers. They did an outstanding job with the Google accounts and stuff, and doing all of that with the Google Hangouts and everything. They did an excellent job with it. And if we have to pivot to that, we'll pivot to that.
Gotcha.
My hope is we don't have to pivot to that. That's the goal.
I'm with you. So just a different topic.
Yeah.
The budget vote, the bus proposition, both passed
Absolutely.
overwhelmingly.
Yeah,
really
we were
big
very
numbers.
strong support.
Very strong support. So, what are the taxpayers, the parents, everyone going to see this year different from last year?
Well, starting with 15 new buses.
Well, that's awesome.
And I have to tell you, we did what we, again, we're trying to be fiscally prudent in what we do. Our mechanics said we can get you through for 2 years. We're trying to be fiscally responsible for everybody, but we're at a point where we just needed new buses. We had to have new buses. So we have 15 new buses, 9 large new buses and 6 of the smaller ones. I believe that's the split. Each one of the buses are air conditioned now, so that also actually becomes a little more fiscally responsible, because now kids who may have that on their IEP or their 504 can ride one of those buses, which means I don't have to create another route.
Perfect.
So it actually is financially feasible. The other really important part with our transportation department is we get 75% state aid on anything related with transportation. So if air conditioning costs $15,000, it really doesn't cost us $15,000. We get state aid reimbursement on the bus purchase.
So the
itself.
savings on the trips actually make it even more cost effective. Yeah, that's great.
It's actually more cost effective to purchase a new bus if the bus is at 10 or 11 or 12 years, and we've been getting about that, averaging about that. The biggest detriment to school buses is rust. We live in the Northeast. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You can rust-proof them all you want, but the weather is the weather here. So the other advantage we have too is we actually put the buses out once we're done with the buses and declare them obsolete. We actually auction them off, and we've actually done a lot better on the auction site. We've gotten some really good prices, so that actually offsets the cost of the buses too, because that's money coming back into the district.
Well, that's great.
So the new buses are incredible, great shape. They have some new sensors on the front of the buses too about buses getting closer to things, so they have those built in on them now.
So there's a lot more safety features.
More safety features on the buses. So very excited to have these new buses, and they're going to work out very well for our kids.
Good.
And the goal is, over the next couple of years, we said we're going to have to purchase, somewhere from 12 to 15 to kind of catch up for the last 2 years that we didn't purchase. But we needed the new buses this year because we had buses that absolutely, I did not want to spend $25,000 repairing a bus that's only going to last another 2 years.
Sure.
So. As I said, we're trying to be fiscally responsible. What else are you going to see? Obviously, the CRISA money and the ARP money is coming in. We did a presentation back in June. It's up on the website on different programs. We're going to be running the 5 o'clock buses back again.
Oh, that's good.
We're going to bring those back in. We're going to be adding some additional extracurricular stuff for kids after school. We've asked the buildings to kind of figure out what they can do. So they're working on some plans with that. We're doing some remedial work. We have a new reading program for our K-5s that we're putting in with some additional reading coaches for the next couple of years. So we've got a lot of good things going on.
That's awesome.
For the kids. So good academic programs, good extracurricular programs, and good infrastructure we're putting in.
Any capital projects going on
We're
right
still
now?
working on the capital project now. We're waiting for the state to come back with our waste treatment facilities, the next piece that has to be done.
Which is not very sexy.
Not very sexy, but it has to be done.
Yeah.
So that's going to get done. We're working on some other work at the high school, so we've got to put some more projects up from the original capital project that we did. But a lot of the work that we have done is really paying dividends for us. I take a look at the pool. We switched out to LED lights. I mean, that's $800 to $1,000 a month we're saving just having those lights run versus what we had there before.
Yeah.
So, and capital projects is great for us because we get about 75% state aid on the aidable portions of the projects as well. So we get a lot of bang for our buck for our taxpayers in doing that. And the smart thing to do is make sure you stay up with your maintenance. It's just like a house. You let your roof go to a point where it's completely gone and it's a problem. You're not only replacing the roof, you're replacing the plywood, you're replacing stuff inside the structure. If you do it at the right time, it's going to be much more cost effective for you.
Yeah, that's great. What do you do for yourself? Like, it's for you, it's been stressful. It's like, so what are you doing in distress?
Just a small amount of stress.
Yeah, so, a little bit.
No, you know what? A couple things that keep me going. Number one, my wife and kids. My time with my wife and kids is very important. It's even more important that I have a senior who is going to be leaving. And, as I said to my family, I said, wow, next year, I said to Andrew, I said, we're going to take a trip. I'm saving for a trip for you. You got to decide where we're going because this is really kind of the last trip as a family. Because I said, you're going to, Andrew, my oldest, is going to start internships and stuff. So we're not going to see him in the summertime. He's going to be working a lot. And that changes. So really, it's my family time.
Now, where'd you go? Where was your?
A couple things we did. We're very fortunate. My in-laws have a small summer home in the Poconos, so we travel down there on some weekends and stuff. We have a nice small boat there that we go out in the lake and tool around a little bit. You know, those sorts of things. And then it's just little things. We've been over to Legoland a couple times. My youngest likes Legoland.
That's cool.
So we go over a couple times there. You know, just little trips like that. I went down to Florida to visit my dad. He was vaccinated. My first trip was in April, and it was kind of an eye-opening, you know, going down there and first time traveling, because you're seeing everybody with masks, everybody doing everything. It was the first time kind of leaving, you know, the area, and it just was a little nerve-wracking.
Sure.
Because I left in the morning in an N95 mask. I got down to his house by 4:30, and so I've been in N95 mask for 12 hours because I was on the plane in the airport.
Sure.
But it was nice to get down to see my dad and spend a little time with him. And I did that in July as well. I took William with me. And he traveled with me, and it was nice too because we could stay distant from everybody because he's not vaccinated, he's not eligible for the vaccine yet. But it was nice to have him with me and do a little trip with him because he's never had that with dad time for a week. So
that's cool.
Those are the things I do.
So if we could turn back the clock to when you're 18, your 18-year-old self, what's one thing that you would tell your 18-year-old self?
Absorb as much knowledge as you possibly can, because you have no idea what life is going to throw at you and what you are going to be responsible for in a position that you have. Did anybody ever think I would become a water expert, a weather expert, a medical expert now with COVID? I mean, really, you just don't know what's coming your way. And to tell my 18-year-old self, absorb as much as you can, gain as much knowledge as you can on as many areas you possibly can. I can imagine you would say the same thing as chief of police, that it's not just policing that you do.
we were talking in a meeting last night about a furnace, and people are asking me questions, and I've become like a little bit of an expert on this furnace, and I know nothing about furnaces, and I always preface it, I'm like, I know nothing about, I'll tell you like an observation, but I don't want you making purchasing or repair decisions based on, but no, you're right. It's amazing how many things that you have, you become an expert in, or at least, you know, you play around with. Yeah, it's great.
It's true. So. You have to absorb as much knowledge. The other thing I would say too is make sure you learn at an early age to be flexible. Because life is going to throw life is going to throw you curveballs day in and day out, and you've got to be able to roll with it. And I think the last 18 months have taught us anything, that's what it's taught us. And we're very fortunate. Most, if not all, of our community has learned flexibility and to roll with things. It's hard. This whole pandemic has really kind of prolonged everything for everybody, and it's harder and harder to keep saying like, oh my God, why am I continue doing this? But we got to get to that end zone and get there. So we're going to have to be a little more flexible for a little longer. And if we can do that, we're going to get through it. I think the most important thing to let everybody know is, you know what? We set the tone every day for our kids. I set the tone for my kids every day. I try to be as positive as I can, no matter how difficult the news is, because if you set off as a positive person, tell the kids to be positive, guess what? They'll take that approach too.
Sure.
But if you're going to take a negative approach to things and get upset about everything, what's going to happen at that point in time? You set the tone for your kids that way. And I tell every employee that comes into the district, your job is to make it be the best day possible for those children every single day. Our drivers, I tell them all the time, you're the first person our kids see, you're the last person our kids see. You set the tone for the kid, for that student that day, and you also set that tone for that student when they go home to their parents. If you're that positive person, it rolls off onto people.
Sure,
and that's the other thing I want to communicate to everybody is just be positive no matter how difficult it is. Try to stay positive in everything we do. Listen, we're all guilty of losing it. Guilty right here.
Yeah.
This has been a long 18, 20 months we've been all through. A long one. But the more you can be positive, the better off you're going to be. Yep. And so to my 18-year-old self, don't get frustrated at things. Be positive every chance you get.
All right, last question. What's one single thing that you're most looking forward to for the upcoming school year?
Seeing all the kids.
Okay.
Seeing all the kids. It is the
so
highlight of my
people
job.
think you're like an office guy, but you really are not an office guy for anyone that sees. Right. So you still get that rush being with the kids.
I do, absolutely. Love the kids. Love being out with the kids. I love going into the phys ed class. I love going into the other classrooms. I love going around and seeing the kids. I try to make as many sports events for our modified JV and varsity kids. Can I be everywhere? No, but I try to.
Yeah.
I love getting out there. I love being around the kids because, you know what? Their positive attitude is very infectious.
Yep.
And we have tremendous kids, and I love seeing them. I love seeing them have fun. I'll walk down a hallway, I'll poke into 15 different classrooms, poking my head in just to say hello to the kids.
Yep. Good.
Their motivation keeps me going.
Well, that's good. It's great that you were able to join us. I think this was really informative. I think it was a good update.
Yeah.
Hopefully that, I'm sure now you will be giving more updates. So the best place for your updates is the website.
The website, anything we put out on the website, we have it up on our Facebook page so people can see it there. We try to reach as many people as we can. If it's an important announcement I have to get out, obviously I do the one call and get that out to everybody.
Good.
And that's the important piece. But yeah, the Facebook page and website, one of my favorite announcements I did was when we put the announcement out for the full graduation and the 5th grade moving up ceremonies and the kindergarten graduations that we were able to have them. 6 weeks before that, we were talking virtual.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we're now kindergarten graduation with parents there, 5th grade moving up ceremonies. We had an 8th grade drive-by that we'd never done before and was incredibly wonderful and had a very positive response from our families. So, that's where we get the information out when we put it out there. The Facebook page and the website is the best place to look for what's going on.
Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Glad to be here.
No, it's awesome. This is your second time.
Second time.
I think you're the only repeat person at this point, so you're the first repeat.
Anytime you need anything, Chief, I'm happy to be here for you.
Thank you. So everyone else, thank you for joining us. This was the August edition of Coffee with the Chief. And if you have any questions or concerns or any feedback, you can always email me at chief@mounthopepolice.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month.